The crystalline mountain on Kepler 742 had always been different from the others. It stood alone on the purple plains, its surface smooth as polished glass, reflecting the light of 3 moons in impossible patterns. Nathan Drake had seen his share of astronomical anomalies during his decade as a deep space explorer, but something about this mountain called to him in ways he couldn't explain. He adjusted his environmental suit settings as he approached the base of the structure. The scanner on his wrist beeped persistently, showing energy readings that defied known physics. "Control, are you getting these readings?" he spoke into his comm unit. Only static answered him. He was alone, nearly 40 light-years from Earth, staring at what might be the greatest discovery in human history. The mountain's surface shimmed with an inner light, pulsing like a heartbeat. Nathan reached out, his gloved hand hovering inches from the crystal wall. The moment his fingers made contact, a surge of energy coursed through his suit, and the world around him exploded in a cascade of colors he had no names for. When his vision cleared, he found himself in what appeared to be a chamber within the mountain. The walls glowed with soft, ambient light, and in the center of the room, suspended in a column of energy, was a being unlike any he had ever encountered. She was humanoid in form, but her skin was the color of twilight, shifting between deep purple and midnight blue. Her hair floated around her like starlit waves, and when she opened her eyes, they held the depth of galaxies. Multiple crystalline chains bound her to the energy column, each one humming with power. A human, she spoke, her voice resonating directly in his mind. "After all these millennia, they send a human to my prison." Nathan stood transfixed, his scientific training warring with the impossible reality before him. "I wasn't sent by anyone. I'm an explorer." "Who are you?" A smile curved her lips, sending ripples of light across her features. "I am Ariadne, guardian of the Nexus, keeper of the temporal weave, and prisoner of the Stellar Council for crimes yet to come." "Crimes yet to come?" Nathan's mind raced with implications. "You're being punished for something you haven't done?" "Time isn't the straight line your species believes it to be," Ariadne replied. "The Council saw possible futures where my actions would change the course of multiple civilizations. They feared change more than they valued truth." Nathan approached the energy column carefully, his scanner now completely dead. "How long have you been here?" "By your measurements?" "Approximately 12,000 years." She tilted her head, studying him with those star-filled eyes. "Though time flows differently here. I've lived through multiple futures and pasts, all while bound to this single point in space." "That's barbaric," Nathan said, his voice tight with unexpected anger. "No one deserves eternal imprisonment for something they might do." Ariadne's expression softened. "Your sense of justice is refreshing. But be careful, Nathan Drake. Compassion for me comes with a price. The Council's guardians will already know you found me. They'll be coming." "How do you know my name?" "I never told you." "I've seen you in 1,000 possible futures," she said. "In some, you free me. In others, you join me in eternal imprisonment. In a few—" She paused, those galaxy eyes seeming to peer into his soul. "In a few, we change everything." Before Nathan could respond, a deep rumble shook the chamber. Crystalline dust rained from the ceiling as red warning lights began pulsing along the walls. Ariadne's chains grew brighter, humming with increased power. "They're here," she said, urgency in her mental voice. "You must choose quickly, Nathan Drake. Stay and learn the truth of why I was imprisoned, or leave now and retain the life you know. But know this, if you stay, nothing in your universe will ever be the same." The chamber shook again, and Nathan heard the distinct sound of energy weapons powering up somewhere above. He looked at Ariadne, this impossible being who had sparked something in him he couldn't explain, and made his choice. "I'm not leaving anyone to eternal imprisonment," he said, pulling out his exploration kit. "Not without knowing the whole story. How do we get these chains off?" Ariadne's smile lit up the chamber like a newborn star. The chains aren't physical, they're temporal locks, binding me to this point in spacetime. Breaking them requires understanding why they were created. Another explosion rocked the mountain. Through the crystalline walls, Nathan caught glimpses of sleek ships descending from orbit. The stellar guardians had arrived, just as Ariadne predicted. "Then we better start understanding quickly," he said, pulling out his analysis tools. "Because I have a feeling those ships aren't here to welcome me to the neighborhood." "No," Ariadne agreed, her expression both worried and hopeful. "They're here to make sure the future they fear never comes to pass. The question is, Nathan Drake, are you ready to show them why that future is exactly what both our civilizations need?" The crystalline chamber trembled as defense systems activated throughout the mountain. Nathan worked quickly, his analysis tools projecting holographic interpretations of the temporal chains that bound Ariadne. Each link pulsed with equations that seemed to defy the laws of physics he knew. "The Guardians will try to convince you that I'm dangerous," Ariadne said, her mental voice tinged with urgency. "That my freedom would unravel the fabric of civilization itself." Nathan's fingers flew across his holographic interface. "Are they wrong? Change is always dangerous to those in power." A smile played across her twilight features. "But sometimes danger is necessary for growth." The mountain's external defense grid engaged, filling the sky with prismatic energy barriers. Through the crystalline walls, Nathan watched as the stellar guardian ships took up attack positions. Their designs were unlike anything in human records, organic curves melded with geometric precision, each vessel moving with impossible grace. "Your species wasn't meant to find me for another century," Ariadne continued. "The Council had plans, carefully crafted timelines for controlled first contact. But you, Nathan Drake, have always been good at disrupting plans." "Story of my life," he muttered, then paused as his scanner detected something unusual in the chains. "These temporal locks, they're not just holding you in place. They're holding something else out." A massive explosion rocked the chamber. Through the debris cloud, three figures emerged, stellar guardians in biomechanical armor that shifted like liquid metal. Their faceplates were featureless mirrors, reflecting the chamber's crystalline light. "Step away from the prisoner," the central guardian commanded, its voice a harmony of multiple tones. "You don't understand what's at stake." Nathan positioned himself between them and Ariadne. "Then explain it to me. Why keep her imprisoned for crimes she hasn't committed?" "Because she has committed them," another guardian said. "In futures we've prevented, in timelines we've erased. The merger she would forge between human and stellar civilizations would reshape reality itself. And that's bad because..." Nathan's hand inched toward his utility belt. "Order must be maintained." The central guardian raised its arm, weaponry forming from its liquid metal armor. "The natural progression of species cannot be artificially accelerated." "Natural progression?" Ariadne's mental voice rang with centuries of contained anger. "You speak of nature while using temporal technology to enforce your will across millennia. Tell him the truth. Tell him what you really fear." The chamber's lighting shifted, and Nathan watched in awe as the walls around them became transparent, revealing the true scale of the mountain's interior. Countless levels of temporal machinery extended above and below, all focused on maintaining Ariadne's imprisonment. "They fear love, Nathan," she said softly. "The possibility that human compassion combined with stellar wisdom could create something greater than their controlled evolution." The central guardian fired a warning shot that crystallized the air where it passed. "The human concept of love is a chemical reaction, nothing more. It cannot be allowed to influence species development." Nathan laughed, surprising both the guardians and himself. "If you believe that, you really don't understand humans at all." His scanner beeped, having completed its analysis. "And you don't understand your own technology either." With practiced precision, he threw his remaining sensor drones into the air. They activated instantly, projecting interference patterns that matched the temporal chain's frequency. The Guardians fired, but their shots passed through suddenly unstable spacetime. "The chains," Nathan called out to Ariadne, "they're not just restraining you, they're restraining time itself around you. But a restraint can be turned into a catalyst if you reverse the polarity." Ariadne's eyes widened. "Of course. They bound me with time." A smile lit her features. "So time itself wants to be free." Nathan's drones reached their positions, forming a perfect geometric pattern around the energy column. With a deep breath, he activated the interference sequence. The temporal chains began to vibrate, their frequencies shifting from containment to amplification. "Stop." The Guardians moved forward, but the unstable time-space around them slowed their progress. "You'll destroy everything we've worked to preserve." "Maybe it needs to be destroyed," Nathan said, meeting Ariadne's gaze. "Maybe protecting the future means letting it change." The chamber filled with temporal energy as the chains reached resonance. Ariadne closed her eyes, her form beginning to glow with internal starlight. Nathan felt reality flex around them, possibilities multiplying with each passing second. "Make your choice, Nathan Drake," she said, her mental voice strong and clear despite the chaos. "The Guardians are right about one thing, helping me will change everything. Are you ready for that responsibility?" Nathan looked at the Guardians, their perfect order and control, then back to Ariadne, who represented everything humanity had always reached for: mystery, wonder, and the unknown potential of connection across the stars. His choice, he realized, had been made the moment he touched the mountain's surface. "Some things," he said, initiating the final sequence, "are worth changing everything for." The temporal chains shattered with a sound like breaking galaxies, and the future rushed in to meet them. The shattering of the temporal chains unleashed a wave of energy that transformed the crystalline chamber. Reality rippled like water, and through the distortions, Nathan saw fragments of possible futures and pasts, civilizations rising and falling, stars being born and dying, and through it all, countless versions of himself and Ariadne shaping the course of history. As the temporal storm subsided, Ariadne floated free of the energy column, her starlit hair dancing in non-existent wind. The stellar Guardians had been thrown back, their liquid metal armor struggling to maintain cohesion in the aftermath of the temporal release. "You don't understand what you've done," the lead Guardian said, its harmonious voice distorted with static. "The prophecy cannot be allowed to manifest." Nathan helped Ariadne steady herself as she touched the chamber floor for the first time in millennia. "What prophecy?" he asked, noticing how her twilight skin seemed to pulse with newly freed power. "The convergence," Ariadne answered, her mental voice stronger now. "Show him. Show him what you've been trying to prevent for 12,000 years." The chamber walls shimmered, and Nathan found himself witnessing a vision of the future. He saw vast cities where humans and stellar beings lived together, their technologies and cultures merged into something entirely new. Children with starlit skin played alongside human youngsters, while great ships of crystal and steel carried both species to the far reaches of the galaxy. "This is what you're afraid of?" Nathan asked the Guardians. "Peace? Cooperation? Evolution?" "We fear the chaos of uncontrolled advancement," another Guardian replied, its armor finally stabilizing. "For millennia, we have guided species development throughout the galaxy. Each race progresses according to carefully maintained schedules. No shortcuts. No interference." Ariadne's hand found Nathan's, her touch sending shivers of stellar energy through his body. "They imprisoned me because I dared to suggest that love could bridge the gap between species. That human emotion combined with stellar wisdom could create something greater than their rigid plans could imagine." The lead Guardian's featureless face turned toward their joined hands. "The prophecy speaks of a human who would free the Nexus Guardian, whose compassion would unlock powers that could reshape reality. We thought we had prevented this by imprisoning Ariadne before humanity reached the stars. But you found her anyway. Because some things are meant to be, Ariadne said softly. The universe itself rebels against your control. It yearns for freedom, for connection, for love. Nathan felt the truth of her words resonating through him. The mountain itself seemed to respond, its crystalline structure humming with harmonic frequencies that made the Guardian's armor ripple uneasily. The convergence is more than just a joining of species, Ariadne continued, her mental voice now reaching all of them. It's the next step in universal evolution. A proof that love transcends the boundaries of biology and time itself. And what of the cost? The lead Guardian's voice carried genuine concern. How many civilizations will fall as the careful balance we've maintained collapses? How many species will be lost to the chaos of unrestricted development? Or how many will thrive? Nathan countered. You've spent thousands of years preventing change. Maybe it's time to embrace it instead. The chamber shuddered as more Guardian ships appeared in orbit. Through the transparent walls, Nathan could see them preparing planetary containment protocols. The mountain's defenses responded automatically, creating shields of crystallized time. You've already lost, the lead Guardian declared. Even now, the Council prepares to isolate this entire star system in a temporal quarantine. The prophecy ends here. Ariadne's grip on Nathan's hand tightened. No, she said, power flooding her voice. It begins here. She turned to Nathan, her galaxy eyes filled with both love and urgency. The temporal energy you released, I can use it to show you everything. But you have to be willing to see. To understand why the Council fears us so much. Whatever it is, Nathan said, meeting her gaze, I'm ready. Ariadne smiled, and the chamber filled with stellar light. Then let me show you what love looks like across dimensions. Let me show you why they feared it enough to imprison time itself. She raised their joined hands, and reality fractured around them. The Guardians moved to intervene, but they were too late. Nathan felt his consciousness expanding, touching the infinite possibilities that the Council had tried so hard to prevent. And in that moment of connection, he finally understood the true power of what he had unleashed. The prophecy hadn't just been about freeing Ariadne. It had been about freeing the future itself. The expanded consciousness Ariadne had granted Nathan felt like diving into an ocean of starlight. Every moment, every possibility, stretched out before him in infinite directions. He saw the truth that the Council had tried to hide, that humanity's capacity for love wasn't a weakness to be controlled, but a force powerful enough to reshape the cosmos itself. Now you understand, Ariadne's mental voice echoed through the dimensions of his awareness. This is what they feared, not just change, but transcendence. Through the crystalline walls of the mountain, they watched as hundreds more Guardian ships emerged from temporal rifts, their weapons charging with enough power to rewrite local spacetime. The mountain's defenses responded, creating layers of crystallized time that shimmered like frozen auroras. The Council's response is predictable, the lead Guardian said, its liquid metal armor now pulsing with emergency protocols. This system will be quarantined. The temporal isolation will last until humanity's natural development reaches the appropriate stage, approximately 300 years from now. Nathan felt Ariadne's hand squeeze his as they returned fully to normal spacetime. 300 years of isolation, he asked. You'd condemn billions of people to stay trapped in their own solar system just to maintain your schedule? To prevent chaos, another Guardian corrected. To preserve the natural order of species development. What you and Ariadne represent is an aberration. A disruption that cannot be allowed to spread. The mountain trembled as the first waves of temporal energy from the Guardian fleet impacted its shields. Ariadne stepped forward, her twilight skin gleaming with internal starlight. You speak of natural order, she said, her mental voice carrying ancient power, but you enforce artificial limitations. The universe seeks connection, seeks growth, seeks love. Fighting that is what's truly unnatural. Through his expanded awareness, Nathan could feel the truth of her words. The very fabric of spacetime resonated with the desire for connection, for the breaking down of barriers between species and civilizations. The Council's carefully maintained separations were like dams holding back a cosmic tide. The convergence doesn't have to be chaos, Nathan said, understanding flowing through him. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence, it's our ability to adapt, to connect, to love across boundaries. Combined with stellar wisdom, we could help guide other species through their own convergences. Impossible, the lead guardian declared. The Council simulations show only disaster from uncontrolled interaction between species. Your simulations can't quantify love, Ariadne countered. She raised her hands, and the chamber filled with holographic displays showing possible futures, not just the chaos the Council feared, but the incredible achievements that could come from cooperation between civilizations. Nathan watched in awe as images of human ingenuity combined with stellar knowledge created solutions to problems neither species could solve alone. Diseases cured, dying stars renewed, whole galaxies linked in harmonious connection. This is what you've been fighting to prevent, he asked the Guardians. All this potential, lost because you're afraid of losing control? The chamber shuddered again as another wave of temporal energy struck the mountain. Warning lights flashed throughout the structure, the shields were beginning to fail. Soon, the entire system would be cut off from the rest of the galaxy, trapped in temporal amber. We don't have much time, Ariadne said, turning to Nathan. The mountain's defenses can't hold back the entire Guardian fleet forever. We have to make a choice. What choice? Nathan asked, though part of him already knew. Ariadne's galaxy eyes met his. I can use the remaining temporal energy to send you back. You'd return to your ship before you discovered the mountain. You'd be safe from the quarantine, free to continue your life as it was. And leave you here? Leave all this potential locked away for another 3 centuries? Nathan shook his head. That's not going to happen. Then the alternative, she said softly. We complete the prophecy. We show the Council that love isn't just an emotion, it's the force that binds the universe together. But Nathan, she paused, her mental voice filled with both hope and warning, it would mean becoming something else. Neither fully human nor fully stellar. The first of a new kind of being. The lead guardian stepped forward. The Council's judgment is final. Make your choice quickly, human. The quarantine cannot be stopped. Nathan looked at Ariadne, this impossible being who had awakened something in him he never knew existed. He thought about Earth, about humanity's endless drive to reach for the stars. About love's power to bridge any gap, transcend any boundary. Through the mountain's walls, he could see the Guardian fleet preparing their final assault. The choice that lay before him would affect not just his own fate, but the destiny of 2 civilizations and countless others to come. In the end, it wasn't really a choice at all. The Council tried to imprison love itself, he said, taking Ariadne's hand. Let's show them why that never works. Ariadne's smile lit up the chamber like a newborn sun. Are you certain? Once we begin, there's no going back. Nathan smiled in return. Some things are worth any price. Besides, he added, I've never been very good at going back anyway. As the Guardian fleet launched their final attack, Nathan and Ariadne stood together in the heart of the Crystal Mountain, preparing to prove that love truly could reshape the universe itself. The Crystal Mountain's defenses finally buckled under the Guardian fleet's assault. Temporal energy cascaded through the chamber like lightning, reality crackling at the edges of existence. But Nathan and Ariadne stood unmoved at the heart of the storm, their joined hands glowing with a power older than time itself. The prophecy was never about freeing me, Ariadne's mental voice resonated through the chaos. It was about freeing everything. Every possibility. every future that love could create. The lead guardian's liquid metal armor began to disintegrate under the temporal stress. You cannot comprehend the forces you're unleashing, it warned. The Council's order is all that stands between civilization and chaos. No, Nathan said, understanding flowing through him like starlight. Your order is what stands between civilization and growth. He turned to Ariadne, seeing in her galaxy eyes the reflection of every possible future. Show them what real order looks like, not imposed from above, but growing naturally from connection. Ariadne smiled, and the universe seemed to smile with her. She raised their joined hands, and the temporal energy that had been meant to imprison them began to transform. The crystalline walls of the mountain became transparent, revealing the Guardian fleet frozen in mid-attack as time itself held its breath. For 12,000 years, Ariadne's voice echoed across dimensions, you've tried to prevent what was meant to be. You thought love was a weakness, a flaw in the universal design. Power surged through her twilight skin, making her glow like a nebula. But love is the design. Nathan felt the change beginning within him. His consciousness expanded beyond human limits, merging with Ariadne's stellar awareness. He saw the truth of existence, not the rigid, controlled evolution the Council had tried to enforce, but a beautiful dance of infinite possibilities, all connected by bonds of love and understanding. The remaining Guardians in the chamber raised their weapons, but their temporal technology seemed to flow backward, becoming simpler, less rigid forms. The Council's authority cannot be overthrown, they declared, even as their armor began to respond to the new patterns forming in reality. We're not overthrowing anything, Nathan said, his voice now carrying the same harmonic resonance as Ariadne's. We're fulfilling everything. Every dream of connection. Every hope for understanding between species. Every love that transcends boundaries. The temporal storm reached its peak, and Nathan and Ariadne began to change. Their forms merged with the crystalline structure of the mountain, spreading outward through space and time. Where their consciousness touched, rigid barriers between species dissolved. The carefully maintained separations between civilizations became bridges of understanding. The Guardian fleet's temporal weapons fired their final salvo, but the energy was caught and transformed, becoming a wave of possibility that swept across the galaxy. Nathan felt countless minds awakening to new awareness, felt the joy of species discovering they were not alone, felt love breaking chains that had bound reality for millennia. You see? Ariadne's voice sang through the newborn connections. This is what you feared, not chaos, but harmony. Not destruction, but creation. Through their expanded awareness, Nathan and Ariadne watched as the transformation spread. The liquid metal of Guardian armor flowing into new forms, becoming interfaces between different species rather than barriers. The Council's temporal technology reorganizing itself, changing from a tool of control into a medium for connection. What have you done? The lead Guardian asked, its harmonic voice filled with wonder rather than fear. We loved, Nathan answered simply. And love, real love, changes everything it touches. The Crystal Mountain, once a prison, became a beacon. Its light spread across the cosmos, carrying the message that had been locked away for 12,000 years, that the universe's greatest power wasn't control or technology or even wisdom. It was the ability to reach across the void and make a connection. As their consciousness settled into its new form, Nathan felt Ariadne's presence intertwined with his own. They had become something new, something that transcended the boundaries between human and stellar being. Through their union, they could see the infinite tapestry of reality, could watch as love rewrote the story of civilization itself. The Guardian fleet, their weapons transformed into tools of connection, hung in space like a string of pearls around the mountain. The Council's temporal quarantine had become a network of communication, linking species that had been kept separate for millennia. It's beautiful, Ariadne whispered across their shared consciousness. Everything we dreamed, everything we hoped. Everything love makes possible, Nathan completed the thought, their merged awareness watching as humanity reached out to the stars with new understanding, as stellar beings discovered the power of human emotion, as countless civilizations learned they could grow stronger by growing together. The prophecy had been fulfilled, but it was only the beginning. Through their love, Nathan and Ariadne had unlocked the future itself, proving that the greatest power in the universe wasn't the ability to control destiny, but the courage to love beyond all boundaries and let destiny unfold as it was meant to. In the heart of the Crystal Mountain, now a nexus of infinite possibilities, two beings who had dared to love across the boundaries of species and time looked out at the universe they had helped create. And in every point of light, in every connection being formed, in every boundary being transformed into a bridge, they saw the truth that the Council had tried so hard to suppress. Love, in all its forms, was the force that moved the stars themselves.